shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
After months of campaigning, Election Day is finally here, and we have team coverage this morning on the important races we are watching here in North Carolina, plus the need to know information before you head out to the polls.
And one of those things is that we have a fog advisory that's in effect from the Triangle area eastward. I'll show you where the visibility will be down below a quarter of a mile.
And new this morning, Boeing workers have accepted the company's most recent offer, ending one of the costliest strikes in U.S. history.
I'm proud of us for what we did and what we accomplished.
The immediate changes workers will see to their paychecks. Good morning, everyone. It is 4:30. It's a big day for our country as we, the people, choose our next leaders. Thanks for joining us on this Election Day. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Yeah, it is great to have you along here. We have a lot to get to today. It's going to be a long day out there. WRAL is your election source for everything you need to know. Our team of reporters is out of the polls right now, but before we get to them, let's check in with Elizabeth Gardner over at the WRAL Severe Weather Center. That forecast is going to include that fog advisory.
It does. All the way up until 9 a.m. We're going to see some fog. We saw some hints of it yesterday, definitely with slightly warmer temperatures. That's giving us a better chance for fog, and our winds are a bit lighter as well. And wind tends to decrease our chances for fog. But we're at a quarter of a mile right now in Southern Pines, a half mile in Fayetteville, 3/4 Goldsboro, a quarter mile in Rocky Mount, under a quarter of a mile in South Hill. A quarter of a mile is kind of that threshold for where we tend to see fog. Definitely seeing some of that in Pinehurst this morning. Our temperatures around the region, especially in the Triangle, around 55, and our dew point's 52. So it's warmer than it was yesterday. 46 in Roxboro, 55 in Goldsboro, 57 Southern Pines. So mainly we're seeing temperatures in the 50s as you're heading out the door. For Election Day, it's going to be a mild one, starting off with low clouds and fog, but we'll end up partly cloudy this afternoon with a high of around 80 degrees. It stays dry for today and most of tomorrow before we change the pattern and end up with a chance of some showers. So we do have Tropical Storm Rafael likely to become a hurricane as it moves across Cuba. And then the question is it just going to hang out here in the Gulf of Mexico and dissipate, or is it going to actually send us a little bit of remnant rain as we get into the weekend? We'll talk about the scenarios coming up.
Polls open in just under 2 hours at 6:30 this morning for Election Day. And North Carolina is one of the most watched states for the presidential election. The final data from RealClearPolling.com, which averages dozens of polls, including our WRAL News poll, shows former President Donald Trump with a polling advantage in North Carolina of just over 1 point over Vice President Kamala Harris. WRAL's Heidi Kirk is at the Brown Community Center in Apex. And Heidi, the candidates have both been pushing for support in our state in the weeks leading up to Election Day.
Good morning, Renee. You're right. The countdown is on, and the polls are going to open in just a couple of hours here at the John Brown Community Center in Apex. And of course, those presidential candidates made their final push yesterday to make sure that people get out to the polls ahead of Election Day. That includes several stops here in the state of North Carolina as part of that battleground blitz. Now, the former president, Donald Trump, made a stop at Dorton Arena yesterday morning, kicking off his final push across several states, ending the day in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Meanwhile, First Lady Jill Biden made several stops on behalf of the Harris campaign across North Carolina, including in Carrboro and Durham. Now, Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to several battleground states as well, ending her day in Pennsylvania. Both candidates urged voters to make it to the polls on Election Day and hit home the issues that they've been preaching throughout the entire campaign.
November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals in the history of our country.
It is a fight for freedom, like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
Now, it's worth noting that the former President Donald Trump did win the state of North Carolina in the last 2 elections, so he's just working to hang on while Vice President Kamala Harris is working to close those slim margins and flip the state. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Apex.
Also, another big race we are watching this morning is in North Carolina, the governor's race. North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is running against current Attorney General Josh Stein. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from the Chavis Community Center in Raleigh. And Kelsey, polls show Robinson has a significant gap he needs to close to beat Stein.
Yes, Jeff, and we're just a couple of hours away from polls opening here at Chavis Community Park. Nearly 19,000 people have already cast their ballots here at the park, according to the State Board of Elections. But let's get you straight to a breakdown of what we know so far about the governor's race. The results of the WRAL News poll show Attorney General Josh Stein has a double-digit lead. It shows 52% of voters are backing him, while only 37% support Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. 10% are still undecided. Stein's platform includes supporting reproductive rights and addressing affordable housing. And Robinson announced a public safety platform back in August, promising to crack down on drugs and violent crime. Now, both Stein and Robinson will have parties tonight in Raleigh. We'll be sure to have crews at both of those and keep you updated on the results. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
People will also be voting for the next leader of North Carolina's public schools. Democrat Mo Green and Republican Michelle Morrow are running against each other in this race. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us live from the Herbert C. Young Community Center in Cary. And Laura, our newest poll numbers show this is a close race. The candidates are nearly tied.
Renee, good morning. Yes, the race to oversee North Carolina public schools really is extremely tight. We know that according to that WRAL News poll, 42% of likely voters said that they would support Republican Michelle Morrow. Meanwhile, 41% said that they would support Mo Green. Now, Green brought years of experience to the race. He's a former superintendent of Guilford County Schools and was most recently the executive director of the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation. One big campaign platform for Green focused on public school initiatives. Morrow entered the race as a political outsider who had little experience with education policy. She's a former nurse and a homeschooler who says her status as someone who has never worked in public schools is an asset. Now, her background as an outsider and controversial social media posts, including ones calling for the executions of prominent Democrats and advanced conspiracy theories, has been criticized throughout this race. Now, she's focused on addressing school safety as well as security throughout her campaign. Now, we know tonight that Morrow, she plans to have a campaign party here in Cary. Meanwhile, Mo Green plans to stay at home and watch the election results as they come in. Laura Levine, WRAL News, we're live in Cary.
And here is what you need to know before you go out to your polling place today. The polls are open from 6:30 this morning until 7:30 tonight. You can find your polling place and a sample ballot by using the voter search tool at the State Board of Elections website, ncsbe.gov. You can also go to WRAL.com. Bring your photo ID with you. And if you're not registered, you can't register today. The only exceptions are people who just became eligible to vote after the deadline, which was October 11th. You can drop off an absentee ballot in person today at your county's Board of Elections office.
The nation will be watching who wins North Carolina's 16 electoral votes. It's one of only 7 toss-up states that will essentially determine the next president. Trump won the state in 2016. In 2020, he won by fewer than 75,000 votes in our state. North Carolina has not voted for a Democrat for president since 2008.
Live Center. I'm keeping my eye on some live cameras that we're seeing across the United States right now, including in Arizona this morning. What you're seeing here is Maricopa County, and this specifically is a ballot processing facility, which of course will get underway once those ballots are all in. Voting in Arizona gets underway in about the next 5.5 hours. But this is, again, what it's looking like when the processing facility getting prepared for that moment. And the reason why I bring up Arizona is because you may recall back in 2020, President Biden managed to beat former President Trump by a very slim amount of votes here, and this just gives you a look of what that appears like back in 2020. You'll see the difference there. So we'll be watching for more cameras here in the WRAL Live Center to see other states that are beginning the voting process on Election Day here in the WRAL Live Center.
And as we're talking about the finish line here, the fastest, most complete election results will be right at your fingertips in the WRAL News app. Scan that QR code on your screen there to download the app. The WRAL News app will provide interactive, up-to-the-minute results for more than 400 races across the state. You can see the running count for races on your ballot in your county or nationwide. Be sure you check your settings and enable alerts so you get notifications when key races are called.
We are working to learn more this morning about a person who was hit and killed in a Fayetteville crash. Police say the person was hit yesterday at the intersection of Rayford Road and Revere Street. That person later died at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. We are making calls to learn the name of the person who died and whether anyone is facing charges.
And breaking news this morning, the Boeing strike is officially over. 59% of factory workers voted to accept the company's third offer. It includes 38% raises over 4 years, including an immediate 13% raise. Workers will also receive a $12,000 bonus. However, the deal did not restore Boeing's old pension plan that ended in 2014. Workers will return to work beginning Wednesday, and the 7-week-long strike was the country's costliest in more than 25 years.
Only on WRAL, a mother is speaking out after an arrest was made in the drive-by shooting that killed her 7-year-old son.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful that this is going to put us closer to getting who took my baby from me.
We'll hear from the mother of Zion Gibbs, who says she is hopeful the shooter will be caught.
Elon Musk is expected to give out the last $1 million check to a voter today. The ruling made by a judge about his sweepstakes.
And we'll give you a live look at Clinton, where there's some low cloud cover, and we do have a dense fog advisory for parts of the viewing area. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will tell us who's seeing that fog and whether we could get rain later this week.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
444, we take a look outside this morning, and it is mostly cloudy. We have some low clouds out there and some fog, too. You can see the foggy conditions there in Fayetteville at 57, Raleigh's at 54, and Durham's at 54. But we do have a dense fog advisory that's in effect for most of the viewing area today, so keep that in mind. It is a fairly warm start this morning with temperatures in the mid-50s. You certainly don't need a heavy coat out there, but a jacket might feel comfortable. Exercise forecast this morning, things are looking good. At lunchtime, 74, 80 degrees this afternoon, pretty close to what we saw. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yesterday we were in the 70s, and it should be noticeably warmer this afternoon under partly cloudy skies. Tracking a front that will start to bring us some rain late Wednesday into Thursday. I'll show you the timeline coming up.
Elon Musk's America PAC will give out one last $1 million prize to a voter today. A Pennsylvania judge declined an effort yesterday to stop the PAC from giving out prizes. Voters who signed a political pledge in swing states are eligible. Philadelphia's DA sued Musk and the PAC last month, saying the giveaways were an illegal lottery. Musk's lawyers defended the effort as free speech.
A Tennessee man is facing charges in connection with the plot to attack the Nashville power grid. Federal agents arrested 24-year-old Skylar Filippi and charged him with trying to use a weapon of mass destruction and attempting to destroy an energy facility. The DOJ says Filippi told undercover agents about his plan to fly a drone with explosives attached to it into an electric substation. If convicted, he could face a maximum sentence of life in prison.
Law enforcement is asking for help to find who shot a woman on I-40. This happened yesterday morning in the eastbound lanes near Chapel Hill Road's exit, not far from Cary. Police focused their investigation on a white SUV. The woman was shot in the leg. She was taken to the hospital. They've not released her name or condition. Officers do not believe this is a road rage incident.
The mother of a 7-year-old boy who was killed in a drive-by shooting in Fayetteville is reacting to a recent arrest in the case. 19-year-old Sierra Chambers was arrested and charged with helping after the fact. Court papers show she's accused of hiding the car that was used in the shooting. In an exclusive interview, Zion's mother tells WRAL she hopes this arrest leads to the shooter.
I'm praying and I'm hoping that with them having her arrested, that comes out. That she talks and she tells what really happened.
Chambers was released from the Cumberland County Detention Center on a $100,000 bond.
Some neighborhoods in Cumberland County are under a boil water advisory after a sample tested positive for E. coli. It was found in the South Point water system in the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District. Leaders recommend boiling water for 1 minute before using it. They will let customers know when that advisory has been lifted.
It is 4:47. We have dry and pleasant weather for our election day. This morning, we are starting off with a new dense fog advisory. Elizabeth.
It does cover most of the viewing area. Some of our western counties are not included, but typically fog doesn't necessarily follow right along the line. So just watch out no matter where you are. You could run into some fog this morning that does slow down your commute maybe a little bit. We take a look at Pinehurst this morning. You definitely see some foggy conditions here as we're looking at the Pinehurst Resort and Country Club. 54 is our temperature in the Triangle, so it's warm, a little on the muggy side too at 52, and then we'll climb up into the 70s by the time we get to lunchtime. This afternoon, expect partly cloudy skies. Some of the spots that look a little foggier than others, South Hills showing up at quarter of a mile. Quarter of a mile is typically the threshold where we're looking at fog. Wilson showing up at quarter of a mile. Goldsboro is at half a mile. We head down to the south. Southern Pines at quarter of a mile, and so is Fayetteville. So those are the spots, at least right now, that look the foggiest, but that tends to change fairly often as we're taking a look at fog. So don't be surprised if it's looking a little different, say 30 minutes from now. Back to our west, we have a cold front, and this front, boy, it has a lot of rain with it. We've had severe thunderstorms, some lightning and thunder with it right now. But by the time it arrives here, it's not likely to bring us any severe storms, and it won't have as much rain with it. We do have a southeasterly flow right now, and that's bringing some light rain into South Carolina and the mountains of North Carolina. We're not likely to see that here either. Today's likely to be dry, and most of tomorrow too. Here's a look at futurecast for tomorrow. There could be a little bit of drizzle and low cloud cover, some patchy fog tomorrow morning. And then we may actually see a few breaks in the clouds during the afternoon. And then the cold front starts to push in with some rain in the morning. Notice right around lunchtime, we start to see some showers, and we may see some rain as we get into Thursday morning as well. That's Thursday at 8 a.m. So some of that rain starts late Wednesday, continues Wednesday night, and lingers into the day on Thursday. So we could definitely use some rain. We'll see how much we actually get. Maybe a half an inch would be average. Your voting planner starting in the 50s this morning. We do climb to 80 degrees this afternoon. And once that fog dissipates around 9 or 10, we shouldn't really have any other issues. It is going to be a very warm day. Our forecast high 80, and the record high for today is 81. So almost a record high for our election day today. And 67 is our normal high. It's been so warm lately. It's hard to believe 67 is our normal high. We'll be really warm tomorrow at 82 and still 79 on Thursday. We're going to be very close to a record high tomorrow, 82 versus the record of 83, and in Fayetteville, 84 with a record of 85. Warm mornings, too. Our normal low is 43, and our overnight lows will be in the 60s for the next several mornings. So once we get this front through, we do start to see our temperatures dropping a little bit. Should be a really pleasant weekend with highs in the low to mid 70s. And, of course, Monday is Veterans Day. It looks pretty then, too.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Jason Kelsey has spoken after breaking a man's phone at a Penn State football game. We'll tell you about his response to that now viral incident.
And Kelly Clarkson is ready to ring in the holidays. What she's revealed about her plans to host this year's tree lighting ceremony in New York's Rockefeller Center. Jason Kelsey is apologizing for smashing a heckler's phone at a Penn State game over the weekend. Ahead of last night's Monday Night Football broadcast, Kelsey said that he is not proud of his actions and chose to greet hate with hate. The now viral incident happened ahead of Penn State's game against Ohio State on Saturday. A heckler could be heard using a homophobic slur to describe Travis and Taylor Swift's relationship. And that's when Jason smashed the phone on the ground and shouted the same slur back. Penn State campus police are investigating.
October's predicted blockbusters failed to meet expectations, so the studios are pinning their hopes on a November trifecta. David Daniel has that in today's Hollywood Minute.
Hollywood is hoping Thanksgiving will bring some magic reminiscent of last year's Barbenheimer. Box office analysts are looking at Wicked to conjure up an opening weekend worth $80 to $85 million when it debuts November 22nd. And Gladiator 2 is expected to haul in $55 to $65 million the same weekend. 5 days later, Moana 2 sets sail, charting a course for $100 million or more over the 5-day holiday weekend.
All the things I wish I could do, these guys are doing.
This guy's very sharp. He hasn't figured us out yet, he will.
All we know is what we found out from the neighbors. And the general consensus is
They're angels.
The Boondock Saints is returning to theaters for its 25th anniversary. The cult classic action thriller starring Willem Dafoe, Sean Patrick Flannery, Norman Reedus, and Billy Connolly hits the big screen on Thursday, November 7th and Sunday, November 10th. Locations and tickets at iconicreleasing.com. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Students at Abbott's Creek Elementary School have planted a very special tree. It's a historic moon tree. They were given a special seedling, which actually orbited the moon. And the moon tree Abbott's Creek planted is a loblolly pine, well suited for our part of the state.
Kelly Clarkson is back once again as host of this year's tree lighting ceremony in New York's Rockefeller Center. Clarkson made the announcement yesterday on her show. She also teased the event, saying it will have the best music, star-studded surprises, and of course the lighting of the Christmas tree. Clarkson herself has yet to announce if she will be performing again, but you can watch it all on December 4th on WRAL.
This is a live look at the Herb Young Community Center in Cary. In about an hour, doors will open for people to cast their votes in the 2024 presidential election. What you need to remember to bring with you.